if someone's not doing okay, and there are a number of either labels they could be given or pathways they can be given, I've seen it be the case that someone would rather be told they have PTSD, for example, because they do a very high risk, difficult job, than be told you seem to have hit a point in life where everything's got, you've hit burnout, connected with shame or connected with stigma. So I've actually seen places in which some professionals will be almost actively seeking a trauma diagnosis because it feels a bit more like this happened to me, it's not my fault, rather than I've allowed everything to build up to the point where I've burned out. I don't know if that makes sense, but I've seen that interesting one around how things come out. But I see your point about how also an employee might want to look at the outcomes and whether it's coming back to the company or going for a claim.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, and I guess that's probably strongly linked to the history of PTSD and how it's, you know, come into the public consciousness, you know, through war veterans and that sort of thing. So potentially there's just a better understanding of PTSD as opposed to burnout, and maybe a greater acceptance that this is something that people experience. Whereas still, I guess, for a lot of people, they hold a view that, oh, burnout, you know, you're just coming up with excuses for poor performance.
Absolutely. And I think because PTSD in the DSM is one of the few where it's seen that there was a traumatic event, most of the others are you're broken. That's because of the way the system still is. It's not because that's necessarily how it is in the world. But yeah, I'd say what it actually shows is where we are with, because quite rightly, I've done quite a lot of work with the military, is that it used to be a huge stigma, shell shock, and the whole journey of PTSD in the military context was that it was the worst. But what's happened is there's so much good work being done, and we have in the UK Help for Heroes. The emergency services have really started to move forward on that, of saying these people do this incredibly important, wonderful job, so sometimes they get traumatized, and the stigma's really fallen away. But in areas like military veterans, a lot of people join the military quite young. It could be it's the best option from not a great start in life, didn't necessarily do well in formal education. That's a bit of a generalization, but it can be true of later down the line. Someone's been held safe by an institution like the military, part of a big family, catered for, medical, dental, fitness, meals, accommodation, everything's done. And when people leave after sometimes decades rather than years, you can see the slightly almost seductive nature of saying, I think I'd rather be told I've got PTSD from my actual active service than be told I'm just not coping with being back in the world. But I realize that's kind of a whole other topic. But it does tell us where we're up to with mental health stigma. I think that some reactions are now more acceptable or more honourable in some way than other ways in which we can suffer.